Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the committee adjustment meeting for January 25th, 2022. We'll call the meeting to order. First item is the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous people in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. First of all, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Moved by Brad, second by Bill. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof this evening?
Yeah, I think it was the third application.
Brad has will be excused for the third application this evening. Okay, could we have
Is this working?
Could we have a motion to adopt the minutes as circulated?
I'll move the adoption.
I heard you, whoever that was.
Okay.
Is this Mike?
Seconder?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. Statement of precedent for this evening. Any decision reached by this committee tonight cannot be used to set a precedent. Okay, the first item of business tonight is an application for a minor variance by Michael Cook and Nancy Bolduc, affecting property described as Lot 13, Plant 428, 7442, Road 164. And I think we have Adam online for the planning office for this application.
Yes, sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had audio problems at my end here. I could barely hear you. I just heard the last part there, so my apologies. I'm going to share screen and walk the committee through some of the photos for the application. And I trust everybody can see the air photo.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the subject property is at 7442 Road 164 or Highway 23. It's the property outlined here in blue, and I just want to note for committee that the lot lines are a little bit skewed here from the air photo. The north property line should actually be here along this fence line, and the south lot line should be along the fence line here. But this is a 2020 air photo, so fairly accurate depiction of the property and the development that's on it. This lot has 104 feet of frontage, and it's got 0.43 of an acre in area. And this property is just north of Atwood between line 77 and 78. And the applicant is applying for a minor variance to increase the height of an accessory structure. And that variance is, bylaw allows a maximum height of 4.5 meters, and they're asking to go to 5.76 meters, which is a variance of 1.26 meters. And I will just walk the committee through. This is the floor plan. The garage will have an upper level mezzanine storage area towards the rear. And this sketch here, I just wanted to, I marked it up a little bit for committee just to show a comparison. The zoning bylaw for accessory structure height is measured from grade to the midpoint of the roof between the eaves and the peak. So this dimension here represents what the bylaw maximum is. And this sketch submitted by the applicant shows the actual roof height midpoint right here. So this hidden line here would be normally where the bylaw max peak height would be, or where the peak height would be on a typical roof that would comply with zoning. And so the additional height and that massing is really this kind of chevron shape right here. And the reason for the variance is the applicant has, I understand, an RV, and they needed a higher door height in order to get that vehicle in and out. And just some photos from the site. So this picture here, I had the applicant stake out where that garage is going to go. So I've kind of traced and connected the dots here to show the footprint of that garage. The garage would actually go behind this shed here. The shed is going to be demolished, and it would be 4 feet off the lot line. So this is basically the footprint of the garage. And again, this is just looking out from about halfway down the driveway just to show the backyard area. There are mature trees, a few mature trees between the neighboring lot and where the garage will go. Just some more context here showing the neighboring house, and the garage would be in the backyard here. And this photo is from the southwest corner of the backyard looking north, and that garage would be in this area here where the call-out box is. And this is from street view, just in a little bit nicer weather. So this is from the neighboring house to the south, and I'm looking northwest. This is the house on the subject lands. Garage will be behind the house. This is from the neighboring house looking southwest, and that garage will be behind these trees here, the rear yard, well, behind this two-story. And this is just looking right in from the highway, and that garage would be behind this attached garage right back here behind the truck. And the driveway would be extended into the rear yard to allow access into that garage. And as a result, we did get one email correspondence, and this is from the neighbors immediately to the south, and they support the minor variance and have no objection to the additional height. I'm going to try to figure out how to stop sharing here. So staff have reviewed the application in accordance with the zoning bylaw. We've gone through the 4 tests, and staff recommend approval of the variance, subject to the conditions of the report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have. And I also understand the applicant, Mr. Mike Cook, is online if committee has any questions for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, do you have anything to add on this one or not?
No, Adam took this file on, but
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Bruce? Just want to add, there's one other piece of correspondence came in support of the application, and that was from Elroy and Cora Kipfer, which are neighbors of the applicant.
Okay, so we have one other letter in support of this
That's correct.
development. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition to the application? I request that they leave their name and address for the record when they're recognized.
May I say something? It's
Yes.
Michael Cook speaking here.
Yes,
May I
Michael.
say something?
You sure can. Go ahead.
I had spoken to the neighbors to the north verbally, which is Elroy and Cora Kipfer, and they had no objections to the place. But technology was not their forte, so to say. But like I say, when I met with them in person, they did not share any objection. And I asked them if they had any concern legitimately about it, and there was nothing. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any questions from the committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I had
Yes.
a couple of questions. I noticed in the application it's for accessory recreational vehicles. In the last 2 photographs that the planner has shown us, there's a highway tractor parked in the driveway. Does the zoning allow the parking of commercial vehicles in a residential application?
That has just happened to be, may I just answer that?
Please.
That just happens to be because I do drive truck. The building is not for the zoning, like a commercial use whatsoever. It is literally just because there ain't even enough room to get in the door for the truck past like the mezzanine part. The pictures of that truck on the driveway, it just happened to be because I do drive truck, but I'm home at that particular time. Whether I just stopped in on route or whatever, but it's not for commercial use. The truck won't be in there as it's a new truck, so any service being done to the truck has to be done by a mechanic, and I'm not a mechanic.
All right, that's good, thank you. One other question, does the location of the building restrict the septic system or the location of the well on the site?
No, the septic system was to the, sorry, I got to get my bearings, is to the south. It runs kind of, if you look at the aerial photo, which would be along the edge of the part of the deck that jots out the back, that's the last run. We're not near it. The well, we're actually on a shared well with the Mathesons to the south, and well, now it's Carson that owns the house there to the south of them. The three houses are on a shared well, and that well is actually on 2 houses over from us. So there's no issue with the well or over top of a water line anywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I would add too that prior to us, like the original owners that built that house, there used to be one of those barn style garages back there. So that, I'm going to call it a dog run, that fenced in area. That's all solid gravel underneath that grass. It's a bugger to grow grass in that in the summer when, especially when it dries up, because the previous owners, between the ones that built it and us, they demolished that shed, that barn style shed out back to put in that fenced dog run since they rescued dogs.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Just through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. McLean, you had asked a question about whether the transport, the tracker can be parked there. So I did find that answer for you. Section 519 of the bylaw does allow parking of 1 commercial vehicle in a residentially zoned property, and this property is in the rural residential zone, if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, are we ready for a motion? Okay, we have a motion moved by Brad, second by Robert.
No, Bill. Right?
Well, Brad, Robert.
Oh, did you get Robert? Okay.
Yeah. That we approve the application for a minor variance, A15-2021, by Michael Cook and Nancy Bulldog, affecting property described as Lot 13, Plan 428, 7442 Road 164. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
I'm having a bit of difficulty, like technical ends. Was that approved? I'm just
Yes, it
double
was.
checking.
It was
Yes,
approved.
okay. I have to skip out. I have to go to work. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and have yourselves a good evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 4.2, an application for minor variance, A16-2021, by Nicole Ederlin on behalf of Thomas, Martha, and Patrick Ederlin, affecting property described as Lot 35, Concession 4, 6311, Line 88, Listowel. Sean?
Hey, good evening, committee members. Ed, will you pop on the sketch, or did you need me to share the screen? I think you'll be okay there. So the applicant is requesting a variance to the North Perth zoning bylaw provisions to reduce the easterly interior side yard setback from 4.5 meters or 15 feet to 3.4 meters or 11 feet. If approved, a proposed feed bunk silo that is 3.3 meters in height or 10 feet in height will be permitted at the proposed location. So just on the screen is the subject property, and the building cluster is just to the north of the property, but if, just get the sketch, I think it's below the site location. Yeah, so here's some of the materials that were submitted with the application. Excuse me, section 6.3.3.2 of the North Perth zoning bylaw provides setback requirements and states accessory buildings, including grain bins less than 12 meters in height, shall have a minimum interior side yard setback of 4.5 meters or 15 feet. As such, to permit the proposed bunk silo at the proposed location, a relief of 1.1 meters or 4 feet from the side yard setback is needed. The subject property is located on the south side of Perth Line 88, just east of Road 167. The property has an area of approximately 39 hectares or 96 acres and contains an existing farm dwelling, as well as several accessory buildings, including barns and bunks associated with the farming operation. The area subject to the variance is within the agriculture designation and the agricultural zone. Now, when reviewing an application for a minor variance, the committee must ensure that all four requirements specified under section 45(1) of the Planning Act are satisfied. Based on the application submitted by the proponent, it is the opinion of staff that these four requirements have been met. According to the sketch provided by the applicant, the proposed bunk silo will complete the series of existing silos, which will effectively provide efficient use of the buildings. Relief of 1.1 meters or 4 feet from the interior side yard requirement is required to permit the placement of the bunk silo at this location. The proposed bunk is expected to be 3.3 meters in height or 10 feet in height, where the existing bunk silos are approximately 2.4 meters in height or 8 feet. It is evident that the proposed location will offer one of the most efficient locations for the operation. Other locations may be available on the property, but do not offer the same level of organization with the existing silos and could consequently remove additional farmland from cultivation. The proposed setback of 3.4 meters from the property line will maintain appropriate access and provide sufficient space for drainage between the properties. Additionally, the height of the bunk silo is less than that of the proposed setback, which is important to note as historically the height of these structures were used to determine what an appropriate setback was from the property line. As such, it is staff's recommendation that the committee approve the application, however, subject to two conditions. One, that a survey is prepared by a qualified professional to confirm the final location of the silo. And two, that the maximum height permitted for the proposed bunk silo is 3.4 meters or 11 feet. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application? And I request that they give their name and address for the record when they're recognized. Seeing none, is there anyone present who wishes to?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Nicole Ederlin here, representing Thomas, Martha, and Patrick Ederlin. I just wanted to make a comment about Sean's presentation. I don't wish to add any further comment. However, I do just want to make sure that you are aware that we did take into consideration the height of our bunker silo to make sure that we have left enough distance for the boundary and what the bylaw has stated. We have sat down ourselves through multiple meetings just to ensure that we are doing the best for our neighbors and for the environment. And we do believe that the placement of the bunker silos is in line with existing feed storage. So it would create efficiency as well as a certain aesthetic for the farm layout.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think we have one letter of,
Nothing on this.
nothing on this one?
No.
Okay. So there's no one speaking in support of this application?
No correspondence in support or opposed.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Questions from the committee members?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes, Robert.
question. Typically in a bunker silo design, there are buttress walls that help retain the bunker when it's full. Have these buttress walls been taken into consideration for the relief asked?
I'm not sure if that question was directed at me, but no, we did not consider that when we were looking at the relief from the planning department.
That leads me to another question. Has the applicant provided a design for the bunker yet?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I would just like to answer that question.
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
For the design of this particular bunker silo, the way that it will be built, we will not need supports in that sense. We will be using measures, backfilling, while keeping in mind certain drainage for the farm, just to create the most effective use of space. We will design certain bunker silo that won't require much support, beams, or extra wall space.
Okay, I'm just throwing out a caution there that without an engineered design on the bunker, it may require the retaining buttresses to be included. So I don't want to give permission for something that you may have to come back and ask for further relief.
An engineered drawing could be a condition, definitely something we can look into.
Be required.
We'll leave that discussion between the applicant and the building department.
Okay, thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Brad? Do we have a seconder? Bill? We have a motion by Brad, second by Bill, that the application for minor variance, A16-2021 by Nicole Ederlin on behalf of Thomas, Martha, and Patrick Ederlin, affecting property described as Lot 25, Concession 4, 6311, line 88, will be approved. All in favor? Carried. Okay, you will be notified of the decision of this committee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4.3. We have an application for minor variance, A17-2021 by Shane Ballantyne on behalf of Schmirk Incorporated, affecting property described as Lot 2, Part 5, Bell Crescent. And Brad is going to be giving the information on this one and excusing himself from the decision. So we might be called on the planner. Sean, give a description of this application.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting a variance to the North Perth zoning bylaw to permit the construction of a one-story, two-unit, 370 square meter industrial warehouse building or 4,000 square feet building at the proposed location. To permit the building at this location, relief is requested to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 3 meters from both side yard lot lines, and to reduce the rear yard setback from 7.5 meters to 3.49 meters. I'm not sure if Ed can scroll down just to show the sketch. Thank you, Ed. So the property is currently vacant and is located on Bell Crescent, which is a small court or cul-de-sac, and consists of several small-sized parcels for industrial purposes. The subject property is 1,180 square meters or 0.3 acres and has 35 meters of public road frontage. As a result of the small nature of the property, the uses and the buildings that can be supported on the site are limited. The applicant is proposing a 4,000 square foot building with 2 units to be used for a contractor shop or similar use. The applicant has noted challenges with the property and placing the proposed building on the site. The relief requested has been noted by the applicant to provide the most efficient use of the property while providing ample parking on the site. The relief requested from the side yards in the rear yard would effectively allow the proposed building to be set back closer toward the rear of the property. The subject property is within the Special Policy Area C designation of the County of Perth official plan, and this designation permits a variety of industrial uses. The property is also within the light industrial zone, or the M1-4 zone of the North Perth zoning bylaw. The M1-4 zone permits various low-intensity industrial uses, including a contractor shop, whereas the site-specific provisions allows for some additional permitted uses. The M1 zone requires 6 meters or 20 feet side yard setback and 7.5 meters or 25 feet from the rear yard. Just as a reminder, when reviewing an application for minor variance, the committee must ensure that all four requirements are met as per the Planning Act. This includes that the general intent of the official plan is maintained, that the general intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained, that the variance is minor in nature and is desirable. Based on the application submitted by the proponent, it is the opinion of staff that these four requirements are not satisfied, and staff cannot recommend approval at this time. As I just noted, the M1 zone requires a 6 meter or 20 foot side yard setback and a 7.5 meter rear yard setback. And the applicant is requesting 3 meters from both side yards and 3.49 meters from the rear yard lot line. Based on the relief requested, access around the building will be limited and would not offer vehicular access or loading or unloading areas from the rear yard or interior side yard. However, section 6 or 5.9 of the North Perth zoning bylaw provides loading space requirements and requires a building between 185 square meters and 3,700 square meters to have at least one loading space. The North Perth zoning bylaw also requires this loading space to be located in the interior side yard or the rear yard of the lot. The relief requested to reduce the side yards and rear yard setback would eliminate the opportunity to have a loading space as required by the zoning bylaw, and therefore would not comply with the North Perth zoning bylaw provisions. As such, the proposed variance does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and it would be a challenge to say the variance is minor in nature. Staff cannot support the application as submitted. We can support a deferral to allow for the application to be reconsidered and to make changes that may support a variance in the future. I would stress that this deferral recommendation does not mean that the application as submitted today is supportable if relief is provided from the loading space requirement. However, we could review any revisions that the applicant makes to bring the variance request more into conformity with the 4 requirements of the Planning Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition to the application? I request that they give their name and address for the record when they're recognized. I think we have a couple letters, do we not, Ed?
Yes, we do have 2 letters received. Both of them are in basically opposition to the application. They both have concerns about impacting the residential zone abutting the industrial site. So these are residents that live in the row housing on Cross Street.
On the north side of the subject property.
That's right.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant? Seeing none? Okay, I'm going to ask Brad for his input here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Just, I guess, first in response to the letters from the residents, so that there's 1 or 2 lots. I think there's 1 or 2 lots in between this property and the residential zone. So we aren't abutting directly to a residential zone. This lot itself, I think you said I don't have it here, but I think it's 0.3 acres. So it's a very small lot. It's more or less the size of a large residential lot. It's not a big building either. The building itself for just under 4,000 square feet. So again, just like the size of a kind of a large residential home. So that the scale of this project is really quite small. The trouble that we're having is because of the irregular shape of the lot and just the small scale of the site and getting traffic movements in and around to the parking spaces. It really made the site best utilized to push the building into the back corner. The setbacks that have been asked for are the minimum numbers that we need on the 2 sides, 2 of the 3 sides. Because of the irregular shape of the lot, the average distance is quite more than that. We're actually at the one corner, we almost meet that requirement. We could get away from the rear yard setback. We've provided a little bit more parking than what's required. But because the lot's so small, that space back behind the building or to the side of the building would just be unused space that was inaccessible. It would just be wasted green space. And when it comes to green space, we already have more landscaped area than what the zoning bylaw allows. So when we look at all of the other kind of areas that the zoning bylaw asked for, we have provided more than what has been asked for. The setback that's been asked for, the setback that's part of the bylaw, it's part of the bylaw, and I guess it is what it is. But when we kind of compare that to other municipalities in the area, that setback is really it's quite large. A lot of the other surrounding municipalities, the setbacks we would see for industrial buildings would be like either 3 meters, or one that's used quite often is half of the building height, which in this case would pretty much get us away from all of those requirements. The one comment that Sean brought up there at the end with the loading space, that is one that I guess if the application has to be deferred so that we can get that wording on the application, I guess then so be it. But we have ample room at the front of the building for multiple loading spaces if required. that's how the site would operate, much the same as many of the other buildings that are back in that subdivision right now are built tight to the back and tight to one side. So the loading space, I'm sure that the intent of the bylaw is to try to keep the loading spaces from being front and center of the development, but that's like back in that subdivision, that's the most efficient way to design the sites, and in most cases those are either on the side yard or in the front yard now. So it would fit into everything else that's happening back there. Yeah, I think that's it, unless there's any other questions.
Thanks, Brad. What percentage coverage would this give on the lot?
So I think it's hard to see in here. I think we're at just shy of 40, and we actually have a on this plan, and we actually have a revised plan where we've taken the parking on the south side of the drawing there and slid it up. I don't know, it'd be about 4 meters to the north to give us even more. So we'd likely be just about 50%.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Looking at,
Robert.
through you, Mr. Chair, looking at the site layout here, does this comply with entrance width requirements in the bylaw, or are there any stated in the bylaw?
Sean, could you answer that question?
Sorry, yeah, absolutely. So you mean to access to the actual property?
Yeah, maximum width of the driveway access to a property.
The maximum width. I mean, I hadn't looked at this previously. This plan for Bell Crescent would have been reviewed previously for lot conformity. But in terms of having issues with my computer pulling up the actual PDF here so I can zoom in a bit more.
If I may, Sean, the maximum width for a driveway is 14 meters in the zoning bylaw.
Yes, and I'm not sure what this width is showing here because I've never looked at that on this drawing. Brad, do you happen to know?
I don't have that dimension. Like if 14 meters is the number, like we can easily like that. Like the whole frontage on this lot, I think is I don't have that on here, but it's only like 20 meters. Like it's yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. I think when we went through the design, I think we looked quick. I don't remember seeing it, and I maybe didn't look long enough. I just all of the other lots back in that subdivision are gravel all the way across the front. So when I didn't see it, I didn't keep looking because I just assumed that there wasn't something specific for this zone. But
I think, yeah. So I think, yeah, as Ed noted that for these industrial lots, it would be up to 14 meters, and I think that would be reviewed anyways when a site plan had come in. Look at those specifically.
Thanks, Sean. Any other questions? If not, are we ready for a motion?
I'd motion to defer. I'd like to see more information, and truthfully, I'd like to see at least one side be within bylaw.
Thanks, Bill.
I think that's a fair evaluation. Defer until
More information.
all the information can be addressed through the planner and the building department.
Thank you. We have a motion by Bill, seconded by Robert, that we defer the application for minor variance on A17-2021 by Shane Valentine on behalf of Schmirk Incorporated, affecting property described as Lot 2, Plan 5, Bell Crescent. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That brings our meeting to our applications to a close. Any other business? Ed?
No, nothing,
Nothing? No correspondence?
no further correspondence.
Okay. Under the motion to adjourn. Robert and Bill? Thank you very much, everyone.